A week after the Chinese intrusion and the serious standoff in the Ladakh region, India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has visited Russia for an emergency meeting. And Japan is now targeting China to back off from Japanese island. The Minister of India is in Russia, convincing Russia to send all its equipment and spare parts of their tankers, Air Force jets, and Navy ships and submarines. Originally, it used to be arriving to India by ships. Now, India wants it by sending the equipment through the airways. Also, India wants S-400 system to be delivered to India as soon as possible. In fact, India's S-400 will be arriving on later 2020, but due to the uncertain situations around the globe, it was said to be arriving to India only on 2025. The S-400 deal is $5.2 billion worth. It will protect India's cities and borders, simultaneously targeting approaching till 400 to 600 kilometers. India wants to buy S-400 to put 3 on the Pakistan side and 2 on the Chinese side and 1 at the capital of India mostly. Already Chinese has purchased the S-400 in 2014 itself. It was delivered to China in 2018. Even though China has an S-400 of its own, India still not even gotten one. But India has an advantage against China by India's superior air force might on the Chinese border. As the serious standoff gone wrong for both the countries, military general talks are still going on. Both sides have deployed around 200,000 troops in the Indian-China border. While the tensions rising day by day, India, Russia and China meet their RIC Summit, thought to be delayed, has been scheduled to June 23 now. As like the India, Japan is doing the same in Chinese-Japanese water. The Japanese government has begun legal process of the completion of integration of an island Senkakus chain that Beijing has for long set its eye on it. Though the Japan administered the island from 1972, China and Japan are still finding way to fully control the islands. The city council wants the bill to be passed to develop the island chain near Tokyo. China has said Japan has to abide by the law and to inherit it. Japan has said it is under the international law as the island chains belong to the Japanese historically. As already many Chinese Navy ships are increasing seen in the coast of Japan, Japan has warned the China, it is extremely serious that the activities continues. We will respond to the Chinese side firmly and calmly. So what do you think? India urging to buy military equipment and spare parts from Russia now. Does India and China getting seriously to a battle or just a build-up? And Japan is also making the same as China against China in the Japanese territory. Will it force China to retreat?
In a strategic move that is likely to irk China, India and Singapore signed a bilateral agreement that will allow Indian Navy ships logistic support, including the refueling at Singapore's Sanghi Naval Base located near the disputed South China Sea. Looks like China is more in shock or might be in shock because of India getting its first naval base in Singapore. Singapore also wants both sides to engage more activity in the Strait of Malacca through which China's oil and natural gas imports passes. The agreement was announced during a joint press briefing on the second Defense Ministers' dialogue between India and Singapore, which ended here on Wednesday last week.
The signing of a Navy-to-Navy agreement today reflects our intention and commitment to further deepen cooperative endeavors in our shared maritime domain to address mutual concerns.
Signing of the India-Singapore bilateral agreement for Navy cooperation was the key development at the meeting. Defense Minister of India Nirmala Sitharaman said. It looks like it increased the cooperation in maritime security, joint exercises, temporary deployment from each other's naval facilities, and mutual logistics support. When asked about the details of the pact, Singapore Defense Minister Ng Eng Hen said, "We will be comfortable and encourage Indian Navy ships to visit Sanghi Naval Base more often." The naval agreement was a provisions for mutual logistics support. "We will exercise and patrol in your waters as do in ours. We try to economize and support each other." The base, which was opened in 2004, is located in the eastern part of Singapore. Furthermore, while recognizing the Strait of Malacca and Indian Ocean as the important sea lanes of communication, NG said it makes sense for countries to cooperate not only to establish maritime security but to maintain the freedom of navigation, because we know it is the lifeline for economies. He said, "I think I speak on behalf of both the countries. We want to see more participations and activity in both Strait of Malacca and Andaman Sea. This would mean the institutionalizing mechanism where there are more bilateral and multilateral exchanges in these regions." The Naval Logistic Agreement is the first for India with the country located east of Malacca. The nearest Indian base is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Changi base will therefore enhance the Navy's operational reach, keeping in mind that the Navy from June this year began its Malacca patrol to protect the SLOCs. India has also conducted the SIMBEX exercise with Singapore at the naval base and in the South China Sea. So what do you think of India getting its new base in the South China Sea and particularly in Singapore? Will this be a greatest solution for India or the greatest trouble for China?
India and Japan are targeting the maritime security against China. In New Delhi, India and Japan hope to put in place of a maritime security pact when Prime Minister of Japan Shinzo Abe visiting mid-September for the annual summit aimed China's growing aggression in the East and the South China Seas besides Indian Ocean region, a common concern for both the New Delhi and Tokyo. Abe's visit is in the backdrop of Sino-Indian standoff of the Doklam could also help India and Japan develop a common understanding amid Chinese unilateral moves to change the status quo along the land boundary, the tri-junction of India, Bhutan and China, and the maritime boundaries in East China Sea in Japanese territory. In the backdrop of Sino-Indian boundary standoff, the Japanese Prime Minister visit for this edition of Annual Summit gains added significance as both the neighbors of China having been at receiving the end of Beijing's encroachment along the disputed boundaries. Besides, the highlights of Abe's trip could be attending a ceremony in Gujarat related to the high-speed railway or the bullet trains project using the Japanese Shinkansen technology founded by and funded by Tokyo. This is the only HSR project approved in India so far. India plans to start the construction of approximately 500 kilometers rail link between Ahmedabad and Mumbai in 2018 and get an operational in 2023. Japan has extended a $12 billion package for the HSR at their nominal interest of 0.1% for 50 years with a moratorium on the repayments up to 15 years. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is considered visiting between 12th of September and 14th of September 2017. Abe wants to reach an agreement with Modi to strengthen the bilateral cooperation on the maritime security around China, apparently to address the China's growing activities in the East and South China Seas and the Indian Ocean. The two leaders are also expect to discuss the potential response to North Korea, which continues to push forward with its nuclear and the missile development programs despite UN sanctions. Japanese news agency GG reported quoting government source in Tokyo. Amid the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative across Asia and Africa that has security and economic implications for the region, India and Japan have put into place a freedom corridor from Asia, Indo-Pacific to Africa to provide a sense of stability. Abe's visit would give further impetus to join the cooperation under this initiative. Japan is the single largest source country for FDI in India. Could see further commitments under Make in India initiative during Abe's trip also.
So what do you think of India and Japan joining hands to counter China's South Sea and East China Sea and the Indian border disputes? Post your comments below, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.